Hey friends, welcome back to The Daily. This is Adriana back on the cushion with you today for another practice in generosity. It's really good to be back with you. So for today's practice, we are going to keep it pretty spacious, just like we did yesterday. I gave you a heads up. But before we move into practice, I wanted to offer an analogy, just in case you find it useful in your meditation practice, which is an analogy for meditation. That I first heard from one of my mentors, Ethan Nickturn, in case you're familiar with him as a teacher. And he would sometimes cue us in meditation practice to treat our experience as though we were hosting a thought party. And the idea behind hosting this thought party is that we, as the practitioner, take the role of the gracious and generous host of the party. So if you have ever hosted a party yourself, whether it be like a small intimate gathering, whether it be kind of like a big block party blowout, as you know, the role of the host at a party is to make sure that everyone is being attended to without lingering for too long with any one guest, right? And particularly, if we're working with this analogy, if you have a very busy party, which could be your mind, a very busy mind, the idea is that we graciously, generously welcome whomever arrives, right? Whomever shows up at the door. And we take a moment to acknowledge them. Hi, how are you? It's good to see you. Can I take your coat? How's your family? Great. It's really wonderful to see you. The snacks are over here. The wine is over there. This is where everyone's gathering. Please come in, be my guest. But then we move on, right? Particularly if it is a busy party. We continue to sort of circulate, we continue to move on. And this prevents us from lingering for too long with any one guest. Now, of course, using this analogy as your thoughts and your mind, it might be that in today's practice, you have some uninvited guests, some unwelcome guests, but the instruction stays the same, that we take this role of just being really gracious and generous. Oh, hi. Oh, hello. Oh, yeah. No, I did not expect to see you here, but it's wonderful to see you. There's the snacks. There's their wine. Keep it moving, right? So we continue to just circulate in our thought party. And much like being at a party, say a birthday party, we might encounter guests that really try to like suck up all of our time, right? They're the ones that kind of like grab our arm and get us engaged in like a long-term conversation. And we're sort of like, ooh, yes, hi, I see you. Oh my gosh, fascinating. Yes, it's great to see you. Okay, but I've got to keep moving, right? Okay, I hope you have a great time, and moving on. So no matter what it is that we encounter in our meditation practice, I want to work with this analogy of the thought party, of really just being a gracious, generous host. Whatever shows up in practice today, welcoming, acknowledging, noticing, but then circulating, moving on, continuing to kind of keep the movement going, right? So we're not being hijacked by any one thing for too long in our practice. So wherever you happen to be, finding our seat and just making sure that we feel really sturdy, sustainable. And then once we have found our seat, taking a moment to locate our gaze. So eyes open or eyes closed. If you know that your mind is feeling particularly busy, speedy, anxious, restless, it might be worth practicing with eyes open today, just to give ourselves the extra stability of the visual field. letting the gaze be soft, hazy, unfocused, about 3 to 5 feet in front of us, almost as though we're looking through space, not at anything in particular. And if we are practicing with eyes closed, it's maintaining this sense of being alert, awake, uplifted. And then we'll take a few moments, as always, just to open our practice by opening our senses. And these 5 little touchstones to the present moment. So shifting the attention over to sound. Just receiving the sound of the space that we're in. Perhaps the tonal quality of the room. The rise and the fall of any noises that might be present. And staying open to sound. Shifting the attention to touch. So just centering ourselves in our bodies. Feeling the weight of the body against the chair, the cushion. Taking in the texture of clothing against the skin. Temperature of the air in the room. Dropping the attention into the feet. Just feeling our feet here. Grazing the attention across the shin bones. Circling through the kneecaps. Grazing along the thighs. And landing in the hips. Feeling where the sit bones make contact. Bringing the attention to the belly. The chest. Just resting here for a few beats, the belly, the chest. Maybe even taking a moment to give ourselves a brief temperature check. Getting a sense of our interior state today, what we're bringing into practice. Maybe any residual mood or emotion that's lingering in the body. Maybe not. Just getting a sense of what we're working with today. Continuing to rest here in the front body. Just establishing contact with the body, breathing. So feeling the way the breath moves in the body today. Similar but different than any other day. And continuing to allow the attention to ride the cycle of breath as it moves in the body. We'll continue into practice. Just using that singular instruction. Very simple, not always easy. That as our minds wander, which they naturally will, we're just noticing when we've left our breathing, acknowledging what captures our attention, and then gently, firmly back to the breath in the body. So again, just a bit of encouragement here to keep our practice somewhat open, porous, penetrable. Whatever guests are sincerely arriving here in our practice, whether it be thoughts, emotions, impulse, just allowing it to be there, be acknowledged graciously, generously, without allowing any one thing to hijack us entirely. We're just noticing, acknowledging, and coming back to the breath in the body. So as always, it might be somewhat useful here just to keep the window of our senses cracked open a bit, allowing the freshness of the moment to moment to enter, remind us where we are, bring us back to our vantage point. It's feeling the shape of the body here in space, that light pressure where the body makes contact, receiving the sounds of the space that we're in, feeling the temperature of the air against our skin, texture of our clothing, feeling the vacillation of breath as it moves in the body, and just allowing ourselves to rest here, staying watchful of our mind. This is it. And feeling the body breathe. And again, wherever we happen to find ourselves, ushering the attention back, feeling the body in space, breath inside the body, and just allowing ourselves to be here, open, attentive, gracious, generous, and continuing to return back to the body, back to the breath, back to the moment at hand. And then in our final few moments of practice together, taking the opportunity to reconnect to what brought you to practice, that intention, motivation, why yes, why today. And closing out with a bit of sweetness, maybe thanking ourselves, a little hand on the heart, just giving ourselves some warmth, some love, some acknowledgement for being the consummate hosts to perhaps a very rambunctious party today. Maybe not. Maybe it was a quiet party. And then as you're ready, just allowing formal practice to drop and coming back in together at your own pace, no rush. Great. Thank you. Thank you for practice. I hope that you have an exquisite day, however long that day may be, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.